Hi everyone, today we begin our exploration of one of the most fundamental concepts in economics, the basic economic problem. This problem exists because human wants are unlimited, but the resources available to satisfy those needs are limited. A concept we call scarcity. Initially, we will examine whether challenges like access to food and adequate housing are universal problems affecting people everywhere. These are not just issues for certain countries or regions. They represent the core economic challenge faced by every society worldwide. The basic economic problem forces individuals, businesses, and governments to make choices about how to allocate scarce resources. We must decide what to produce, how to produce it, and for whom to produce it. Throughout this lesson, we will analyze why even wealthy nations cannot satisfy all wants and needs simultaneously. Understanding this concept will help you see how economics impact daily life, from personal budgeting to global policy decisions. By the end of our discussion, you will recognize that scarcity and choice are inseparable companions in economic thinking. Let's dive deeper into how societies attempt to address these universal challenges. Now that we understand scarcity and the basic economic problem, let's see how these concepts apply in practice through our economic day production challenge. This activity will help you exercise and experience firsthand the three fundamental economic questions every society must answer. In step 1, your group receives a budget of rupees 10,000. This represents your scarce resources, forcing you to make careful allocation decisions. Step 2, that is, requires you to decide what to produce by choosing one food item, directly addressing the economic question what to produce. Notice how you can't produce everything. You must choose between burgers, pizza, noodles, cupcake, or other options, demonstrating opportunity cost. In step 3, you will plan your production by determining quantity and technique, answering how to produce with consideration of efficiency and resource use. Step 4 asks you to consider key factors like your target customer and influences on your choices, addressing for whom to produce. This simulation mirrors real-world business decisions where entrepreneurs must allocate limited capital among competing users. Through this challenge, you will discover that even with rupees 10,000, you face scarcity because you cannot produce unlimited quantities or every type of food simultaneously. Finally, presenting your findings in step 5 helps you articulate the economic reasoning behind your allocation resources, reinforcing how scarcity necessitates choice in every economic activity. Because scarcity forces societies to make choices, every economy must answer three fundamental economic questions. The first question, what to produce, requires societies to decide which goods and services should be produced with their limited resources. The second question, how to produce, involves determining the most efficient methods and combination of resources to use in production. The third question, for whom to produce, addresses how goods and services should be distributed among members of society. Different economic systems answer these questions in different ways, ultimately determining society's standard of living and economic well-being. Now let's see how major companies answer the three fundamental economic questions in their business operations. McDonald's Big Mac example shows their strategic decisions. What to produce? A famous burger recognized worldwide that meets customer demand for fast food. How to produce? They use capital-intensive approach with automated grills, timers and fryers, combined with labor where workers assemble burgers quickly in turns. This production method ensures speed, consistency and efficiency. For whom? Everyone seeking quick, affordable meals, including families, students and workers, demonstrating their mass market approach. The Tata Nano presents a contrasting strategy. What to produce? The world's cheapest car, designed specifically to make vehicle ownership accessible to common people. How to produce? Highly capital-intensive production using robots, assembly line machines, and automated welding, with some labor for installing parts and quality checks. This combination keeps cost low while maintaining standards. For whom? Middle-class Indian families who couldn't afford cars before, showing how product design and target market directly influence all other economic decisions. Governments face the same fundamental challenge as businesses. Scarcity means not having enough resources for everything society wants or needs. Even the wealthiest governments cannot fund unlimited hospitals, schools, roads, defense systems, environmental programs, and social services simultaneously, because tax revenues and budget are finite. This creates the basic economic problem at a national level, forcing difficult political and economic decisions. When addressing what to produce, governments must choose which public goods and services to provide. They should prioritize healthcare over education, defense spending over infrastructure, or environmental protection over economic development. It emphasizes a crucial economic principle: every resource used for one thing cannot be used for something else, which is the essence of opportunity cost. Additionally, government must decide how much to produce by determining the quantity of each goods or service, such as how many hospitals to build, how many teachers to employ, or how many kilometers of highways to construct. These decisions involve balancing competing public needs, voter preferences, economic efficiency, and social equity, making government resource allocation one of the most complex applications of the basic economic problem. Government must choose healthcare or education, industry or recreation, more investment on consumer goods or capital goods. Government face critical quantity decisions that directly affect citizens' lives and economic development. The first question, how many hospitals, involves deciding whether to build 5, 50 or 500 hospitals, with each requiring scarce resources like doctors, medical equipment and land. Building more hospitals means fewer resources available for other priorities. The second question, how many factories, requires determining whether to support 10, 100 or 1,000 factories, each needing workers, machines and raw materials to operate productively. The third question, how much capital goods, present a crucial trade-off between present and future needs. Should the government invest in machines for immediate production today, or sacrifice current consumption to invest in more capital goods for greater future production capacity? These quantity decisions are interconnected because resources are limited. Money spent on hospitals cannot be spent on factories. Resources allocated to current production cannot simultaneously build future capacity, and every choice involves significant opportunity costs. Government must carefully balance these competing demand while considering factors like population needs, economic growth objectives, employment goals, and long-term development plans, making quantity decisions among the most challenging aspects of economic policy. With scarcity and unlimited demands, government must use systematic decision-making processes to allocate limited resources effectively. It involves prioritizing needs based on urgency and importance to society's well-being. After prioritizing needs, government must implement budget allocation, which is the practical process of distributing limited resources across competing demands. The final step in government decision making requires explicitly considering trade-offs, which are the unavoidable sacrifices that come with every resource allocation choice. Government decision making doesn't end with initial resource allocation. It requires ongoing review and adjustments to ensure resources are being used effectively. Governments must monitor results by tracking whether their allocation decisions are achieving intended outcomes. Beyond deciding what and how much to produce, societies must address the critical question of how to produce goods and services using their limited resources. This involves two interconnected decisions that directly impact efficiency, costs, and economic outcomes. First, societies must choose which production techniques to use, as illustrated by the choice between labor-intensive method, that is using mainly human workers with hand tools, and capital-intensive method, that is using primarily machinery, robots, and automation. For example, a country might produce clothing either by employing many workers with sewing machines or by investing in automated factories with robotic assembly lines. Second, societies must decide which resources to use and in what specific amounts, determining the optimum combination of capital, natural resources, and labor. The final fundamental economic question, for whom to produce, addresses how societies distribute goods and services among their members, which is perhaps the most controversial economic issue. This distribution process involves three interconnected stages that determine economic inequality and living standards. First, ownership of productive factors establishes who controls scarce resources, land, capital, and labor, with some people owning farms, factories, or rental properties, while others own only their ability to work. Second, earning factor income means these resources owners receive payments. Workers earn wages, landowners collect rent, capital owners receive interest on investments, and entrepreneurs earn profits from their businesses. Third, determining consumption power recognizes that this income directly determines a person's ability to consume goods produced. Those with higher factor income can purchase more housing, food, healthcare, education, and luxury items. The distribution system's fundamental principles is clear. The more factor income you earn, the more goods you can consume.